Hello everyone, I am back. It's been a while. So I just wanted to show you guys, because it was recommended to me to record and make some videos on my Satisfactory world here. I started playing this when 1.0 came back out, so kind of want to show a little bit of how the progression worked out in this video. Maybe give you guys some ideas, you know, and show some stuff that maybe isn't stereotypically shown in Satisfactory videos. So I'm gonna load back all the way to when this place was all a mess. Alright, so this is back when I just finished my heavy modular frame factory here, and you can still see even after probably 50 hours I still have to manufacture computers. But anyways, over here, you can see the spaghetti I had to set myself up. And I went pretty far with this progression-wise, just kind of doing fast and dirty as I could. So you can see like here, I recommend having a constructor fully overclocked with a Sommer's loop in it. And you can do any of your power shards or proteins here into DNA capsules as well. Because as you do the proteins into the DNA capsule, you actually quadruple your output with a Sommer's loop in there. Because it's 2 times and then 2 times again from the protein to the DNA. You also get double your power shards. And you can change your recipe and everything without getting rid of that doubling. However, if you, say, make a constructor, right, and you see it says 20, if I were to move all this stuff over here, you will see that the first time you set it up, it's not going to actually double it. It's going to do the normal, and then the second time through, it'll double it. So keep that in mind when you're placing it. If you're trying to fully min-max it, you know, have it in a semi-permanent location or even fully permanent. And I had at one point 3 doggos in here, but even with these walls, they run out. Not sure how. So yeah, that's the spaghetti. You'll notice over there I have a motors factory, and off that way I have my oil that's doing plastic, rubber, and fuel, and it's getting stored right there from the train. It's also where I was doing the Christmas event stuff, so that's why that platform's so huge and so many containers there. And then I got just a bunch of basic stuff going here. Got like a temporary manufacturer for things, mostly SAM, and I got some quick wire going into a sink. All my extra motors also go into a sink. Got some explosives going. So yeah, and that brings us back to where I started paving everything for the city you saw at the start. So this is when I started tearing down everything and I started paving to have kind of like a actual official grid for building. And I actually had built a storage area over here, so you can see there's a huge bus highway here going to that and getting sorted as needed, which I still have even at the current save, and it's kind of off at an angle, you'll see. So I'm probably going to move it again and set it up differently, but very basic, very fast overview of that. From there, you have where we're at now, basically. So you can see over there, that's where we had started paving. And this were the columns you were seeing that had nothing on them. The first thing I built was this concrete building, obviously, so that I could continue building. And I still have my oil train over here, which actually I just have the fuel as backup at this point, because you'll notice I'm using turbo fuel now. And actually, I didn't show you guys that. I do have a turbo fuel power plant way off in the distance, over that way, right about there in the like swampish biome. I don't remember what it's actually called. And I started setting up a train network for everything to get dropped off. So you'll notice there are a lot less conveyors except over there where the storage is. Like the huge bus that I had over here is mostly disassembled at this point, and it's actually kind of moved off to the side over here. Next thing I set up after concrete was this iron set up, which is where the train network started. Initially, I just had it come in like that, off and then back up. However, I wanted to expand that way. So I made this junction, which was my first ever junction, by the way. I've never really messed with trains, and it took me 2 hours to figure out what was going wrong. And what it turns out, what was going wrong was the signals want to be like a specific distance apart from each other. And with this junction also being up here, it was playing with it. So I actually had a signal here, and I just had to delete it, and that fixed it. Which I've had new ideas on how to manage junctions. So I think these are probably going to be really the only 2 junctions of their kind in this world. But from there, I'm kind of thinking doing more on and off ramp junctions, kind of like that U-turn I have there, so that it keeps things clean. Because I'm not thinking that there's going to be really too many cross sections, and if there are, then I can always modify the ramps and stuff into a junction, so it'll be less work overall. Back to the iron stuff. So started with the first floor here, smelters on either side, using a blueprint I have that's 10 smelters. So each side is smelting 600 iron, I think. So I think I have to do the walkways over here, but I'm not really sure how to go about it because of the way the belting is. I think it's a little tighter as well, so it'd be kind of hard to make walkways in here. And while we're waiting, you might have noticed the roof over there. Let me better view. It's a little funky, and like I said earlier, that side doesn't have as much space because it is thinner than this side. So you may have noticed the roof is a little crooked. I haven't come up with a better fix for that other than that, which is fine because you don't really look at it too closely, you know? So if we go up to the second floor, this is where all the constructors are, as well as the second floor. So this is I like to call Iron Basics building. So it's making iron plates, iron rods, screws, and even reinforced plates and modular frames. And rotors as well. And then I have a secondary elevator over here, just so I don't have to run all the way to the other side of the building. And you'll notice some of these screws and plates and rods are going up, and those were the conveyor belts you saw right above the other elevator on the outside wall. And then, yeah, second floor is essentially tier 2 iron stuff, like I mentioned. Rods, modular frames, reinforced plating, and all that good stuff. And then, of course, from there, it's right next to the storage building, so at the moment, it is just all belting down from here or here. Or no, all here or here, my bad. And going onto the smaller highway belt that I have right now, highway bus highway. And then I also have encased industrial beams being made in excess over at that heavy modular frame factory, as well as behind here, I have a designated factory for it, which I will set up as an official factory, and it'll be the only supply for storage. That way this thing can run 100% of the time, which it should, because as you may have noticed, I set up storage bins for literally every single item here, in the thoughts that maybe I would use it as storage. So, like even the iron plates, steel stuff, screws, concrete, right? And then into the tier 2, 3 stuff here. And I just have a smart splitter set up to overflow to storage. That way this factory can run as much as it needs. From there, I built this copper factory here, which is a little bit bigger base, and I will show you from the front. First floor, smelting again, with some belts coming through from the other side. So this is the front right now, and I think it looks pretty cool. with the rock in the middle like that. It looks really good at night with the lights on it. They're all angled perfectly.
Michael, don't leave me here. Michael, help me.
Only one elevator for this building, as all the copper stuff goes out that way, as well as these, which might change with having a train to a new storage facility. Second floor, all just constructors. These are literally all the machines for my copper stuff. I'm producing 60 wire, cable, and copper sheets a minute, I believe. So 1 a second for every copper basic item. And then we have the roof, which is just belt work, and the lights, some decorations here, which I made a blueprint for these right here. After that, I made this Pantheon kind of thing with the hub outside. You can see my quartz coming in, which I'm actually working on extending the train right there to go over this way to pick up the quartz. And that's going to be the next factory I make, is my quartz factory. That being said, I still have some other things like the Caterium factory here. So here I have my Caterium factory, very straightforward. It kind of comes off a little bit into like this alleyway, which I really like. Again, first floor smelting, super simple. I think it's 12 smelters, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 12 smelters, which then go up to here for the constructors right here. Just a bunch of constructors packed in a tight space, really, which then go up to the roof to merge the quick wire. And the roof here, kind of decorative, very empty though as well. And then my newest addition here is the steel, which uses the same on and off ramp as the Caterium. It just goes through the train station when it gets here. Mostly, from what I've been able to see, the way it works is the steel one will get here, and then the Caterium right after. However, it looks like they might have mixed up a little bit here. I have the train transporting the ingots, so that I'm not pulling 2 cars, and it's a little faster. It's also less items. It's more compact that way, because instead of transporting 1 coal and 1 iron, I'm just transporting 1 steel ingot. And I'm just putting it in this like outdoor factory because I only needed 13 constructors, which I thought really didn't justify a building, because otherwise it's gonna look a little bit like my concrete one over there. And I'm like, yeah, it's cool, but it's not really that cool. Another thing I have to work on is flattening out over there to add a U-turn, because right now this steel one comes all the way up, goes that way, and comes down, but then when it comes back up, it goes all the way over there through the Caterium pickup, pulls the UE here, which was made for the Caterium, and then pulls the other UE here to get back in. So it's a lot of track going, and possibly even messing with the Caterium transport at the station there that I would rather not have. And so let me show you the steel foundry. I got some iron over there, which it is built on 600 coal and 600 iron coming in, as is the constructors over there. However, I don't have Mark 5 belts yet, which I believe is 600 items a minute. So I'm just using Mark 4 at the moment, but once I get that Mark 5, I can just swap it out. So it's just a bunch of foundries in here. And then if we come to this elevator here, I have my coal mine, which is literally just 1 miner, which mine's 600 already. Again, just have to upgrade the belts. I also have to do a little bit of work on making this look structurally sound. So this is a little bit of a work in progress still. You may notice my motors, heavy modular frame, and oil stuff is not set up on the train network. And that's because originally I was just going to do bi-directional tracks for literally every single factory, and I just realized, I'm like, yeah, that is gonna take a lot more setup and make more spaghetti than having an actual network, so that's what I'm doing now. So this is the oil factory. I've had this for many tens of hours at this point, but I just haven't finished building it or decorating it because honestly I forget about it. But the way it works is it goes down the Gold Coast here and picks up three fluid tanks and brings it over here to the buffers, and I just made 2 just to fully back up as much as I could. And you will also notice, because I used a train fluid cart and these, I don't need any pumps really, except for putting it in the top tank, right? So it goes in the top tank and then it works its way down. That way I don't have to worry about pressure at all, really. Except for the fuel output over there, which goes up to some generators, which kick-started my turbo fuel plant. I got a temporary smokeless powder set up here, my constructors and packagers over here for fuel. This also burns excess fuel, just so this stuff doesn't really back up, just in case. And then over here, I have the MAM, which was serving as research for this stuff over here. However, I mostly have the MAM done at this point. I just have this one in alien technology, this one in power slugs, and 4 more in sulfur. So, and actually this one I can do now. I just haven't made more smokeless powder because I ran out of black powder. And you can kind of see with some of these, I made like planning with signs here. I have since installed Satisfactory modeler, so I don't really use those that much anymore. So now I will show you guys the motor factory real quick and then the turbo fuel plant. So motor factory, again, signs. This was my first actual factory for one item, big project kind of deal. So you'll see train station here, and this is another thing with bi-directional train stations that I hate, is the headache of setting up the actual train station, because if you mess one up, it's hard to figure out which one it is that's messed up, and it just takes hours. This was before 1.1, so there were no elevators. So I have some hypertubes set up here for each floor, and on each floor you can go to either floor 1 or 2. And oh my god, this is perfect timing. The manta ray actually flies through the smelters here and out that way, and I just realized it clips that hypertube, which I don't like, but what can you do about that? So smelting, basic constructing, and floor 3. The higher tier stuff again, firstly here, and then up here. And then at the end of all of this, there are 2 motors a minute being made between these 2 assemblers, and any excess just goes to the sink there. You can see my smart splitter right there. I believe it's 2. Oh, it's 10 a minute. Okay, I'm making 10 motors a minute. So now I will show you guys the turbo fuel plant, and that will be it for the kind of catching up introduction here. Now this thing is pretty massive. I would say it's making 18 gigawatts of power, and it's also my supply of jetpack fuel. I also have a bunch of batteries all over the place here, mainly here in the 2nd floor, to kickstart this thing if it ever messes up. So here you can see my packaged fuel being made and sent into the cloud, I like to call it. And this is just using polymer resin and water to make plastic into here for the packaging. And it also uses excess fuel, as I didn't want to burn every single bit and have a couple generators going in and out. So the roof here is 39 turbo fuels. This tower is 20 turbo fuel generators. And also in the basement here, I have another 16. So let me think, that's 75 turbo fuel generators, making the 18 gigawatts of power. So downstairs, I have sulfur coming in the basement area here, and a geothermal generator. There was oil around, and I just piped it over. So it goes into the containers, and then it goes to the 2nd floor, or the 1st floor technically. This is where the basic first logistics are, just as I didn't have room on the next floor. Oh, geothermal, first floor. I also have my control room in the first floor here with a little bit of a void roof. This is mainly lighting. It was supposed to be one for each floor, I believe, which I don't think I've set up lighting in here yet. And right here is my basically on-off switch to the main power grid, which allows me to turn off all of my factories in the event that for some reason it trips the power and I need to boot up this again. Which, by the way, those 4 fuel generators that are burning the excess fuel over there are not connected to that. They're connected to the main power source. So if that's ever the issue, you know, I'm relying basically on the batteries, which I should have enough to boot everything up. It's fine. Over here, I have on the first floor 9 assemblers making some compact coal, and 17 refineries making all of the fuel here. And you can see I also put the turbo fuel generators down here and water extractor. And you can see here the polymer resin starting up. I have this just in case the sinks can't keep up, but they should, especially between that and the residual plastic I'm making. Everything in here is color-coded also, which I'm sure you've already noticed. Again, before 1.1 came out, so no elevators, which is why I have the walkways here. And last floor before the roof, 10 more assemblers making compact coal, again over in that area, and 31 refineries making the turbo fuel. Very tight area. Again, my power bank here. I have a lot of batteries on this floor. Between this and the roof, I have 11,000 megawatt hours stored. And like I was saying, should be more than enough to supply any issues I might have. Here, I'm sinking the polymer resin, which is any overflow that's not being used at the residual plastic. Turbo fuel is being stored here and pumped up to the roof generators first before going down. Here's the compact coal getting stored. And with sulfur and coal coming in, you know. So thank you guys for watching my quick rundown of what I've got going so far. Like, subscribe, whatever you do. I appreciate you guys watching. I'm going to be making some more videos on this world as I go. I'll just continue from at this point, essentially, and just keep you guys updated, I guess. I might be a little influenced by Kibit's editing style as we go, specifically the boops, so you guys might notice that if you watch him. Alright, again, thanks for watching. Have a good one.